The secret of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. Do you want me to sum up the secret of my success? But studying the success of my success is not really enough if you have to succeed. If you sincerely want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be eternal on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really success is when English doesn't depend on less or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something bad enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and people, I miss how I learned to speak so wonderful English. So they want to summarize the success of my success, but studying the success of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that the English is good enough. You must be tough on yourself and keep striving for improvement. The series of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the success of my success. But studying the success of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be tough on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Surely success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Your success depends on watching something bad enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak what's wonderful English. They want me to sum up the success of my success. But studying the success of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really, success is speaking English. Doesn't depend on luck or how much money. The series of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the series of my success. But studying the success of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be tough on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck, how much money you book or succeed. Real success depends on watching something bad enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the success of my success, but studying on success my succeed. It's not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice English every day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really, success is speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or succeed. Really, success depends on wanting something bad enough and working hard enough to get it.
But studying the secrets of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you succeed, you must love English. The secret of my
The
success.
series of my success.
Ladies and
Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the series of my success. But studying the theory of mindset is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good so much enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Really success depends on wanting something bad enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and people often ask me how I learned to speak what's a wonderful English. They want me to sum up the success of my success, but studying the success of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really, success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. A really success depends on wanting something bad enough and working hard enough to get it. The secret of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up my success, but studying the success of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really succeed in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or succeed. Really success depends on wanting something badly enough and working enough to get it. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the success of my success, but studying a success of my success is not really enough to help succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really, success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Really, success depends on wanting something best enough and working hard enough to get it. Secret, secret, success, secret, success, succeed, secret, success, secret. The secrets of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the series of my success, but studying the series of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something best enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to sum up the secrets of my success, but studying of secrets of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really success. Speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Really success depends on wanting something bad enough and working hard enough to get it. The series of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the series of my success. But studying the series of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really success is big English lesson people depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or succeed. Really success depend on working something best enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak in second English. They want me to sum up the secrets of my success, but telling the secrets of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must not on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Research in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or succeed. Really success depends on watching something bad enough and working hard enough to get it. The series of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the series of my success. But studying the secrets of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Real success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something best enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the secrets of success, but telling the secrets of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really succeed. Is speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something best enough and working hard enough to get it. The series of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the series of my success. But studying the series of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Really success depends on wanting something bad enough and working enough to get it. Ladies and people often ask me how I learned to speak psychological English. They want to sum up the secret of my success, but studying the secret of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really, success is speaking enough. Doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Really, success depends on wanting something badly enough, and working hard enough to get it. The series of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, People often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the story of my success. But studying the story of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied. That's your English is good enough. You must be tough on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how many calories or how much money you spend on books or courses. Really success depends on wanting something badly enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak Sakon English. They want to answer a message, but setting just a message is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must learn so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that so English is good enough. You must improve on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Surely success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Surely success depends on wanting something best enough and working hard enough to get it. The secret of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to meet some of the secret of my success. But studying the secret of my success isn't really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must return on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Real success is with English telling people on less or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success people wanting something bad enough and working hard enough to get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the secrets of my success. But studying the secrets of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be tough on yourself and keep striving for real success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something badly enough and working hard enough to get it. The secret of my success.
The secret of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the secret of my success. But studying the secrets of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Real success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something badly enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such unwonderful English. They want me to sum up the story of my success, but studying the story of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something badly enough and working hard enough to get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful. The secret of my success.
The series of my success.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to me to sum up the secret of my success. But studying the secret of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that the English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Real success in speaking English doesn't depend on looks or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something badly enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to sum up the story of my success, but studying the success of my success it's not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Real success. Real success is speaking English doesn't depend on less or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something badly enough and working hard enough to get it.
People often ask me, the secret of my success.
The secret of my success.
Ladies
Ladies and
and gentlemen,
gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to me to sum up the series of my success. But studying the series of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that the English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Real success in speaking in English doesn't depend on less or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something badly enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to do some of the secret of my success, but studying the secret of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Real success is speaking English doesn't be on looks or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something best enough and working hard enough to get it. The secret of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to me sum up the secret of my success. But studying the secret of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Research in speaking English doesn't depend less on how much money you spend on books or courses. Research depends on wanting something bad enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to sum up the secret of my success, but studying the secret of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really, success in speaking English doesn't depend on luck or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something best enough and working hard enough to get it. The secret of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to me sum up the secret of my success. But studying the secret of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and go striving for improvement. Real success in speaking English doesn't depend on looks or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something best enough and working hard enough to get it. The secret of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, People often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to me so some of the theory of my success. But studying the theory of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English so is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and with striving for improvement. Your success in speaking English doesn't depend on less or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on watching something barely enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want most of the truth of my success, but selling the truth of my success isn't really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to see, you must love English. You must learn so much that you practice every single day, month and month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and go striving for improvement. Real success in speaking English doesn't depend on looks or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something enough and working hard enough to get it. The secret of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to me sum up the secret of my success. But studying the secret of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must taught on yourself and with striving for improvement. Real success in speaking English doesn't depend less on how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something barely enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to me some of the story of my success, but studying the story of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every day today, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be tough on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Real success is being enough. Doesn't be on looks or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on watching something best enough for work hard enough to get it. The secret of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want me to sum up the secret of my success. But studying the secret of my success isn't really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that the English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Real success in speaking English doesn't mean on looks or how much money on spent on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something barely enough and working hard enough to get it. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to good stuff wonderful English. They want to sum up the theory of my success, but studying the theory of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on yourself and keep striving for improvement. Really success is speaking enough doesn't depend on what or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something barely enough and working hard enough to get it. The secret of my success. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to sum up the secret of my success. But studying the secret of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that the English is good enough. You must be taught on the self and retrieving for image. Real success in speaking English doesn't depend less on our courage or how much money you spend on both our courage. Real success depends on wanting something best enough and wanting have enough to it. Ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me how I learned to speak such wonderful English. They want to be some of the secret of my success, but saying the secret of my success is not really enough to help you succeed. If you really want to succeed, you must love English. You must love English so much though that you practice every single day, month after month. You must never be satisfied that your English is good enough. You must be taught on the social and keep striving for improvement. Real success in speaking English depends on us or how much money you spend on books or courses. Real success depends on wanting something better enough and working hard enough to get it.